So I was perusing the twatter, checking out the latest drama, the latest spurgs, all that sort of stuff. And I come across Student of God. Now, Student of God makes an interesting point here. And this is something that we've talked about at nauseum on this channel for a little while. But we're going to talk about it again. And I like to do a live show on this with certain people if I can arrange it. But for now, I'll just give you my 2 cents, my personal pre-recorded takes, if you will, but all in one take because I rarely, I should edit that, rarely, say that 5 times fast, edit videos. But here's the thing. The death of CG campaigns. And I wouldn't even call it the death of CG campaigns. Let's call it crowdfunding campaigns, right? And I wouldn't necessarily say it's the death, but there is certainly an element of risk when you do exactly what I have done. And what he's going to talk about with Billy Tushy. He says, "She fan here. I will not be backing yours or anyone else's Indiegogo Kickstarter that does this. I will just wait and save money, probably save about $20 per book and get it from a shop." And it says show more. So let's see the more. From your local comic book shop is about $15 and 3 floppies. From Indiegogo, about 35, 1 trade paperback. So basically what he's responding to here is Billy Tucci says, get she, Hariko, whatever it's called, #1, coming to comic book shops. Full disclosure. And I think anyone that knows this channel is quite aware that Nyobi is published. We are in shops. We also do Kickstarters. So why? Well, if you don't, you're leaving money on the table. And it doesn't matter which way you go. However, unless if you're selling by the tens of thousands, right? There is far more money in your Kickstarter than there will ever be being distributed in the direct market. The reason why we distribute in the direct market is to gain exposure for our book. Not necessarily money, but exposure, because long-term exposure will pay off in the end. That's how Brian Pulido made it to the big time. He wasn't rich overnight. It took him 30 years to get there, man. You know, we're talking about him going bankrupt and selling half his properties off. Still, he doesn't have Evil Ernie. He doesn't have Chastity. He doesn't have Purgatory. He was lucky to get Lady Death. You know, the one thing that maybe pulled him right out of bankruptcy and into the stratosphere of being a millionaire is Lady Death. But Lady Death in the 90s didn't make him a millionaire. You know, again, he filed for bankruptcy. But long story short is that people are just interested in the book, right? To a lot of people, it doesn't matter how they attain the book as long as they can attain it at a price they feel is reasonable and fair. So, this is why, again, you won't make a fortune in the direct market, but your exposure will pay off. So, in the end, in every Nyobi book that we put out on the shelf for $5, first of all, you are saving money. He is right. You are saving money. Okay, so normally, you know, for a variant, we would charge maybe like $20, but you know, we could put out that same cover on the shelf, sell it to 3,000 people, and only charge you $5. Are we going to make a ton of money doing that? No. But do we get a ton of new readers, 3,000 new readers who never knew what Kickstarter was? Who only goes to the comic book shop to buy their books? Who do not like to pay $50 for a variant and $20 shipping? Yeah, they're going to come in and buy it for $5 and leave the same day with their purchase, right? A lot of times in comic books, it's twofold. It's either you have a pull list and you know what you're going to get every month. And then the other part of comics, it's much like going to the candy aisle at your grocery store, right? And it's an impulse buy. Ooh, shiny. You see something you like and you go pick it up. Maybe you flip through it, you take a look at the cover, and next thing you know, you're bringing it up to the counter along with the books in your pull list. All right? It's exposure. And if you use this exposure properly, it could lead you to more money. Okay? So how so? Well, look, at the back of every Nyobi book that we're going to print with AP, and we started it with #3, there is going to be an ad that points you to where our shit is, right? It's going to say, come to the Nyobi eBay store, come to the Nyobi Shopify store, or be on the lookout, you know, in a few months for the next Nyobi Kickstarter. We have that ability to advertise our personal stuff in our publication releases. It's massive, right? You can point people who have never heard of you before, who picked up your book by an impulse buy because the price was right at their local comic book shop. The cover caught their eye. And next thing you know, maybe And it's not a guarantee, but maybe they are now purchasing from your online shop. Maybe they are going to check out your next Kickstarter. It's a win-win, right? I don't care how people get their books from us as long as they're buying the books, right? Yes, one avenue will make us more money, but that avenue is always going to be there. We're always going to use Kickstarter. We're never going to shy away from that because it'll be dumb for us to do that. That's where we got our start. That's where our core base is. But we're making a new core base, right? Every time we put out a book through Antarctic Press, every time someone goes to the shop and they see my book sitting next to Batman and on and the other side of it is Turtles, and that has happened. It's great. It's a great feeling to be on the same shelf as such iconic characters that, you know, it pays the long-term game. No one thinks long-term game, right? And this is what blows my mind. I talk to so many people, well, why do I want to be published? Why do I want to, promote the publisher? What's in it for me? Am I going to make 20 grand overnight? No, no, you're not. What's in it for you is the exposure, the credibility, the legitimacy of actually being in previews, being in shops, distributed, not through some third party. No, it is a third party, but not through some like retailer incentive on your crowdfunding that maybe two retailers might back if you're lucky. No, we're talking about retailers flipping through the Diamond magazine or going online to see what books they want to bring to their shop that week. And it's great because guess what, people? Even though we do live in the digital world, even though we do live in the online world, people still go to their comic book shop to, let me check my notes here. Yeah. Buy comic books. Fucking amazing, right? And when comic books do well, that tide lifts all ships. So for instance, if Batman is selling really well and Nyobi happens to be out the week of, the week before, or the week after, like right around that time period, then that's actually a benefit to Nyobi because people who are going to come in for Batman may see my book and they might buy it as a secondary buy. They may come in for Batman, but maybe they leave with 2 or 3 books, right? It's like going to a wrestling event. Yeah, you came to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin, but fuck that card that had Chris Jericho, I almost said Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio going at it was definitely the better match. They weren't the draw, but you walked away going, you know what? Them fucking guys, they did a really good job. I like them. I'm going to be fans of them now too, right? And then eventually they become the big draw. Let's go through some of these comments here. So yeah, we read Student of God's comment, and there are 26 replies. But let's read Vaughn Coleman's reply here. Now, Vaughn Coleman's an independent comic book creator. We don't necessarily get along all that well, but let's just see what he says. He says, I'm sorry, but this is a bad take. It's not a bad take, actually, for all the reasons why I just explained. But let's see what else he says. Why are we against expanding our businesses? Well, we're not. People who back crowdfunding are aiding the production of the book exists, so they are awarded with a premium copy. So let's stop right there. No one cares about your premium copy. They don't. And I don't mean his in particular. I mean premium copies in general. I think what we're starting to see is that, especially when it concerns the younger generations coming up, I'm talking like Gen Z, maybe even some millennials, right? And definitely Gen Alpha. They don't care that they're buying a book that you think is going to be worth money in the future. That's not why they're there, man. They're there just for the book, okay? They're not there collecting comic books like the way they collect Pokemon cards. They just aren't. So trying to say it's a premium, yeah, it is a premium. But you know what? It's a premium that at the end of the day costs the same amount of money to manufacture and put together as the $5 floppy that you're going to buy at your shop. He goes on to say, so if years from now, if I make a floppy version for cheaper, how is that an insult to backers? Well, why, first of all, why are you waiting years, right? If you got the work done, put it out now. Diddy now, right? So whenever I do an issue of Nyobi, as soon as I get it on crowdfunding, those files are sent to AP. And once that crowdfunder is done, I don't care if it's a week later, we will put that book out on the shelf. That is expanding, right? So we get our money from crowdfunding, cool. Book is made, cool. But we don't need to wait years to put it out, or I'm going to put it out the next fucking month. Now, it may take a few months for that to cycle through the diamond system. There are things in queue, right? There is a waiting list, but it shouldn't take years. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? As a backer, I feel proud that I aided in getting new She comics out there and ultimately leading to it getting back in the shops. That is good. And soon enough, God's going to make this point, but I'll just make it now. Billy Tushy doesn't need Kickstarter to make his comic book. Okay? He's done it before Kickstarter. He'll likely do it after Kickstarter. Okay. Kickstarter is just extra money. Kickstarter was meant to be a place where people would go to crowdfund their dreams, right? Normally, the book wouldn't even be done. You would go there with a brand new idea. You're an upstart, new invention, new book, new game, whatever it is, untested, uncharted territory. And you see if you can get enough people to believe in your project that they are willing to give you enough money to see your dreams come true. It's never meant to be making a profit, but now people use it, much like I do, as a online pre-order store. It was never meant to be that way, but that's sort of what it's evolved into. We should be encouraging expansion. Also, Brian Pulido's been doing this for years and it has been working. Why is it all of a sudden an issue? Well, let's talk about that. I have all the Lady Death books, but only half of them came from Kickstarter. And why? Because once I discovered that I can get Coffin Comics at my local shop for $4.99, I stopped backing $50 Kickstarters because I don't care about if Brian Pulido's book is a square bound book with gem encrusted silver lining. Don't give a shit. I just want the book as cheaply as I can possibly get it. And I understand this now. I didn't understand this before because before we all had a lot more money to throw around and we were spending it so frivolously, right? But now we're very guarded with our dollar and people want value for their money. And everyone, including people in comics, especially comic book collectors, are looking for the best deal possible. So in other words, if your book is worth $20 and you go on eBay and try and sell it for $20, they're not going to buy it. They want to buy it for $7 so they can turn around and sell it for $18. That's the bottom line. All right. So if I can get Common America at my shop, which I do, I won't back their Kickstarters because I'm going to get the same material. Yeah, it might be a different cover. Yeah, they might have a little extra ash can thrown in there. I don't give a shit. Okay, I care about, is it $50 versus $5, and is most of it, the bulk of it, the same thing? That's what I care about. Okay, and I know that's what people care about with Nyobi. I've heard it. I've seen it. Okay. And again, I don't care how they get the book. Kickstarter will always pay for the funding of the book. I'm not too worried about that. We'll have so many people that will leave Kickstarter for the shops that we won't be able to fund our book. Of course, we're going to be able to fund our book. But there are going to be people like me who won't back because they know in a few weeks, not years, maybe weeks, months at the most, it's going to be at shops. When we fulfilled Nyobi Outbreak 3, it showed up at comic book shops 2 weeks after. Yeah. Yeah. The AP version, and we had our Kickstarter version. That's just the way it is. So Student of God response, he says, against what? Dude, I'm a fan and I'm still buying the comic. Elaborate how I'm against. I'm just pointing out there is no reason to back a campaign if it's going to end up in my shop and I save money. He's 100% correct. Unless if you really, really want that hot variant that's unlikely to go up in value because we're unknown indies and no one knows who the fuck we are. Unless if you have a really big time artist like a Paul Green or Jamie Tyndall or Mike DeBoffalo or an Ali Garza, something like that, which we do, chances are your variants that you're charging a premium for isn't going to be worth the money that you're charging for, and will probably go down in value and likely sit in a long box for years. Let's see here, and I said, I commented on here. I said, and you're right, my book's in shops, and I expect people to feel the same way, which is what I just said. I don't back anything I can get in shops. The collecting grift is just about over. It pretty much is. We're getting there, right? We're starting to see it. More and more people are just looking for value. The value statement seems to be what's the most important thing. Chuck Dixon says crowdfunding has, in big capital letters, has to move towards retail to survive. I would like to know why he thinks that, though. Like, I would like Chuck to expand on this, because I would like to get Chuck Dixon on a show. I'd like to get a lot of these guys on the show. Be proud of being an early adopter. Well, that's me. But actually, lots of people came before me that were doing both crowdfunding and retail, and that includes Brian Pulido. Actually, I did it because of Brian Pulido. I'm glad I support many projects early that went on to wider success. Student of God says, "Don't get me wrong, Chuck. I'm super happy to see a Mike Barron Private American comic available to purchase at my comic book shop or any other creator in the space, and that is the advantage. This is going back to the exposure, right? I would probably never back Private America just because it's not something that really interests me, but because Barron is with the company that I'm a part of, and I can get the book for $4.99, that might actually get me to buy his book where I probably never would have picked it up on any other sort of situation." Let's see here. Random says, "I think there should be some difference between the books." Well, there really isn't. Not with mine. So just full disclosure, like I'm not adding extra pages or extra story to a Kickstarter version or to the AP version. The story is the story. The only thing that changes, if you get a Kickstarter version from mine to the AP, is two things. One, the quality of the paper is different. Our Kickstarter versions is a more premium stock of paper, and the ads are different. So in my Kickstarter version, there are ads for me and my friends, right? In the AP version, there are ads for Antarctic Press and myself. That's it for me. That is the only differences. Now, other comic book companies, other publishers may try and make their Kickstarters be more enticing by more incentives. It's really not my bag, right? We do the Nyobi story, we pump it out. The two differences between Kickstarter, well, there's three differences. I shouldn't say two, there's three. The three differences is paper quality, the ads that you're going to see in the book, and the amount of covers available. Because we do variant covers that are Kickstarter exclusive that we do not put through retail. And if you want those, you have to come to Kickstarter. But if you're like me and you don't really care and you just want to get the bulk, the story, then I wouldn't throw away your money on premium goods. And I know that may be sort of shooting myself in the foot, but I think long-term success comes from playing the long game. And that long game is having your books out in the retail market as opposed to just running a campaign for 30 days and then you shut it down and it's a one and done. What I'm saying makes absolute sense here, okay? Let's go on and read some more comments here. "It's only an insult to backers that cheaper books hit the shelves when the backers still haven't received their product. But I thought hitting the shelves was the end goal." For many, it was, especially in the early days, right? Everyone that I talked to back in 2014, 15, 16, you know what they all wanted to do? They all wanted to go to Kickstarter, but not have that be their end goal, right? They wanted to all go to Kickstarter to make their books, and then they all wanted to submit to Image Comics. Almost everyone I talked to during that time period had their sights set on Image. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but that's what it was back in the day. John says, "The thing isn't about expanding business, but costs. If waiting costs less than crowdfunding, people will wait, especially the extras are not worth supporting the campaign." That is what he's saying. People will choose the better deal that might hurt the comic and bring in. Look, between Kickstarter release and the shelf release shouldn't be years, months at the most. The wait times shouldn't be that long. Okay. Let's see here. Critical Blast says retail sales variants are a great way to bring new people to your next crowdfunder. Retail variants are second printings. Essentially, he's right. When you get Nyobi at AP, we've already done the work. We've already printed it out. We've already shipped it to backers. You are essentially getting a second printing, 100%. Not the same thing. They came in the crowdfunder, not even with the same cover dress, and they're usually stripped down to just the story. Let me see what else he says here. And with none of the bonus items. Newsflash. Most people, including myself, do not want the bonus items. I have 2 Lady Death boxes full of tchotchkes that I'm just going to probably end up throwing out in a garbage bag. In fact, when we do Nyobi, we started offering a tier. It's $5 less than the base cost, and all you get is the book with no bookmarks, no cards, no stickers, no buttons, no condoms, whatever they're going to throw in there. And trust me, the condom was a real thing. I got a Lady Death condom once. And they rather have that because they don't want a bunch of checks notes, ... junk piling up. And I get that. That's why we're offering less stretch goals in our campaigns. A, they're expensive to make. B, most people don't really care. And C, they add on to the weight of the package, thus increasing the cost of shipping, depending on what you're offering. Let's see here. Dave the Impaler. I agree, and I believe the goal should ultimately get these comic books in the places where more people can find them. The focus on the direct market lost an entire generation of comic fans. Why make the same mistake of gatekeeping distribution of the crowdfunded comics movement? Real Chris, in 10 years, there may not be comic book stores. That's the reality of the situation. Shipping cost sucks, and it's almost as much as the product. This is why people rather get it at the store, though, Chris, right? The shipping isn't the creator's fault, but it adds up. I get both sides. 100%. Look, I do not back a book if the shipping costs as much as the book or more than the book. And being international, being in Canada, that happens to me all the time. And that has deterred me from backing. High shipping costs will stop me from backing your book. Now, I understand. Come someone backs me and I'm in Canada and they're in another country. Yeah, unfortunately, that's something we can't control. Shipping is the shipping. And I get it if people rather not back the book if there's like a $20 shipping charge because it's international. 100% understand it and agree with it. That's why a lot of people end up going digital. Vaughn says, exactly. I hate how much I have to charge for shipping, but I have to. I'll try and cut down in the future, but I can't make promises I can't keep. And he's right. Exactly. The point of crowdfunding is to raise capital to fund a project. Once that project is finished, it can and should be used into perpetuity. Is that the word? Look. What you do after you crowdfund your project is up to you. Get it in shops. Put it on Amazon. Upload it to Global Comics. Put it on Webtoons. Whatever you can do to get it out there. Load them up on eBay. Start a Shopify store. Drive Through Comics. Gumroad Comics. Okay? There are lots of options for you. It's not one and done, or it's not one or the other. And as many places as you can put your book, the better. Right? And I'm going to start expanding our business as well. You know, we have an eBay business, just made a sale the other day. Thank you to that guy. Picking up a $45 Paul Green variant. But you know what? If he said, I don't want this, I'd rather just get the book for $5 at the shop, I would understand that too. And I would thank him just the same. One does put more money in the pocket, but one gives me longer exposure over a longer period of time that will set me to make more money in the future. So guys, let me know what you think about this. I'm not going to spend all night on this. This could be a whole live stream, and one day it probably will be. But let's just start the conversation now. In my comments section, let me know. Do you prefer to buy your books at the shop? Are you the type of buyer that if you know that they're running a Kickstarter, but you know a few months later the same book is going to be in the shop, would you rather wait and save money? Or do you need the book diddy now? Inquiring minds want to know. Sub up the channel while you're at it, and stay tuned from a word from our sponsor, who's going to tell you exactly where you can get the books. And just who is the sponsor of today's video? Well, it's me, Austin. It's been me all along. And guys, I just want to quickly point out that I too am a comic book creator. I just don't speak it. I produce it, right? It's like put your money where your mouth is. We do that each and every time we have a release. I've been doing this now for a decade. We're published. We're in comic book shops, and we're on eBay. So if you ever want to check out Nyobi and you haven't yet, one of the best ways to do that is to come by our eBay store. Take a little scroll through here. If you type in Nyobicomics, you'll find it. Of course, link will be in the description of the video. I have all kinds of great back issues and hard to find variants here from artists that you know and love, like Jamie Tyndall, Elsie Frita, Steph Wilson, Paul Green, John Stinsman of Evangeline fame, Keith Garvey, and so many more, guys. If you're missing out on some Nyobi back issues, if you're looking for that hard to find variant, chances are you're going to find the best deal right here on eBay, and chances are you're going to find that deal directly through me. And as always, if you do order a book from me, I'll throw in a little extra goodies in there, a little tchotchke package of stickers and bookmarks and cards. Oh my. You'll have all that. Plus, you can have your book signed or unsigned. That is up to you. And keep an eye on this page because I do update it fairly frequently with new items all the time. As something sells, I will put it back up. So guys, today's sponsor, Nyobicomics, the eBay store. Come check it out.